Greetings and salutations, you beautiful individuals. It is League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. We got some previewing of the LCS playoffs. And first and foremost, we got to get to another banger on the Rift because they did it, Mark. T1, they ran the same roster 2 series in a row.
Hey, finally, some stability. Here we go. Just for them to roll out lineup number 11 the next time we see them.
Yeah.
All good. All good right now. Everyone's happy. T1 fans are happy. Faker fans are happy. It's a good day in the LCK.
And the roster showed up again against DRX, which is it's a good test. They're still ahead of them in the standings. Of course, we did bump T1 past them in the power rankings. This only further cements that because it was a 2-0. And with Closer in the lineup, it's always he can play Zoe, he can play Irelia. His impact on other champions not as high. It turns out, Faker can play Zoe too. I can't believe it, Mark. I didn't think that'd be possible.
Weird. It's almost like you have, years of footage to go back and see that, pretty good on this champion, pretty good on this type of champion. Not a bad performance from Faker in the mid lane. And absolutely, you said it, the rest of this lineup staying together, put together the right performance for T1 2-0 over DRX. And this is not really anything about what power level DRX brought to the table on the day. It's all about what T1 wanted to do, how they wanted to play, even through, I think you can nitpick some of the draft choices. You might not want to be, maybe not to the extreme of how LS reacts to it, but at the same time, not happy with it still. The overall performance, you got to be keeping your thumbs up if you're a T1 fan.
And I think the big thing with this roster, because it is full of veterans, you saw in the first game, they lose a fight around Dragon. It's going to be soul point for DRX. DRX makes the mistake of chasing the last 2 members for across half of the map. Then they finally go kill Dragon. But by the time they finish that, T1 has all respawned and they just rush the Baron. And that's really where the game got out of hand. And then there's the fight around Baron where everyone's losing their mind with the Faker plays on Zoe. And I just want to say, listen, fantastic play out of Faker, of course. Great to see it. Love seeing him back. If that's not Faker making that play, everybody's complaining about how broken Zoe is because she uses 6 flashes. 6.
Absolutely. You want to put some praise. You want to feel some excitement. Faker's back. Prove the doubters wrong. All that situation. I'll allow it to some degree for this type of play. I'm always in favor of being on the hype side. But you're absolutely right. 6 flashes where everything that's going on in this team fight. It is, remember when Zoe was first unveiled and we had 3 flashes and everyone's like, this is too much. It's too much to watch this going on.
Twice that.
6 flashes now is what we're dealing with. Gotta love 200 years from Riot Games.
At that point, you don't even know what's going on if you're playing against that. Like, if he flashes that many times, how are you supposed to keep up with where his champion actually is? Going in, out of a bush, over here. It is impossible.
The real question is it calculated which one is the real flash and then the 5 picked up flashes on the ground?
It's all going through his brain. It's all processing.
It's Faker. It has to be.
It's Faker. Game 2, he gets the Zoe again. We got Teddy on Xayah in both of these games. It was 12-1 and 14 for Faker in this series, so he was great. But let's put some credit on Cuz as well, because he was fantastic in this series. He was fantastic against Gen G. He was 13-2 and 17 himself, and this was up against Piosik, and he got the better of him in both games.
It's so fun to look at what T1 has done in this last, week, 2 weeks here, in the sense of having this lineup in and perform the way it does and then stay in. What you've seen is had, Kana playing at 2020 levels. We're all hyped up about this Faker play. Of course, the bot lane has been more than fine with Teddy and Kyria down there, not to mention Kyria making some amazing engages, which always does, no problem.
That.
But you said it. I think Cuz is someone that has gone under the radar, let alone spending most of it down with the challenger team. And then back up here with the main squad and what he has done in these last 2 games. And you said specifically tonight, I think you're absolutely right that he does deserve some credit and some praise put towards his performance and his decision making.
And as a whole, you should be excited about this T1 roster. They've got a Freaka.
It's not KT Rollster. We can be excited. We're feeling good.
They've got a Freaka left this week. A Freaka they played today. They continue to look terrible. They're even subbing out Lehens. That's the problem. You guys have seen this roster and said Lehens is the problem. Anyways, Freak is a whole different story. And then they play Hanwha Life as their last series, which, I mean, depending how things go, they could be climbing as high as third if they win that head-to-head.
And this is very important, this matchup leading towards this Hanwha Life, when I know, playoffs all locked up, all these type of things you can talk about. But as far as just actual performance, improving yourself, this is big for both squads. Obviously, Hanwha Life to shut the door on a team like Fake, the one that we have right now with Faker with T1, this roster and how they're surging up. And then on the flip side, as we've been talking about T1 and Faker, proving yourself against Chovy and this Hanwha Life team that has been putting it together and looking a lot more solid in the last 2-3 weeks, absolutely would be the perfect little extra hurdle to jump over before getting into playoffs.
And remember, still the biggest thing with these veterans is the decision making, the movement around the map, the macro, because no one in their right mind was ever questioning the individual talent when it was all the rookies with Gumiyoshi and Closer and Owner. They're all kings of solo queue, incredibly gifted mechanically. It was getting that team setting, that team environment together with all the inexperience. It obviously showed as the weeks went on. They didn't properly know how to play the game. Guys like Faker, Cuz has been on some fantastic teams, Kana, they all did it together in spring, and Kyria is just, kid's a prodigy anyway, so he fits right in.
It's insane when, kind of to think of the struggles that you've gone through, with this T1 organization this year in this split. But you think of the talent and the potential that's been there and what they've been able to do. And then the idea that you were adding Kyria to this mix, like that's where everyone was
so stoked when they announced that.
Exactly. And this is why these type of performances, this all across the board in every single position, all 5. This is why people were so excited by what T1 could do and what type of challenge they could provide at the very top, knowing that, this is a squad that is going to be great, but they're not going to be, outrageously perfect, even with this lineup, that there were going to be some challenges. There was going to be difficulties. More than we expected, and some of them self-inflicted, absolutely.
Most of them.
But we're here now, and we're at the position that we all thought we would be, where you're at the point in the standings, and let alone the power level, where you're feeling that you can actually compete and contend and push the best of the best.
And let's not forget that even when they were struggling, Kyria was still the highlight of this squad. Right. And sure, he had some engages where he would go in and die, but it was clearly, charge, guys, let's go. Oh, no one? Guess I'm
it has always been from the get-go that you could see why an organization like T1 would put such a priority on bringing someone like Kyria into the organization, and in such a way of, look, you are the star in the bottom lane, where you got Teddy and Gumiyashi, and what they've been able to do is absolutely saying something so early in his career. The playmaking, and then still the way that he communicates with the rest of the squad always backs it up from someone like Kyria.
Can't wait to see his buddy Piosik join the squad for 2022. It's inevitable. It will happen. LCS playoffs starting this weekend. We get a week off for the LEC because, scheduling. I don't know how it works. They need that extra time to make a dope
K-Drill and Dracos need to play Halo 3. That's what's going on.
They got to make a dope rap video before the playoffs come.
Content, right.
So they need that extra week. But the LCS does kick things off. And TSM, Team Liquid, I mean, we're blessed with an absolutely insane first-round matchup with this new format. Well, new as of last year. We got TSM dodging scrim, says Team Liquid. Sword Art talking smack about Core JJ. Because Doublelift's not on either of these rosters, they got to find new ways to ramp up this rivalry.
And I'm all here for it. I'm absolutely all here for it to get some extra bit of trash talk, some motivation into this type of matchup. I loved if you saw from good old Travis Gaffer, the Gaffy Inks, you got to see Sword Art putting down a little bit of the trash talk towards his opponent in the same lane.
Core JJ only won Worlds in the Ardent Sensor meta, man. That's all.
Which I know some people have actually gotten very upset about that comment. Come on, he's memeing. You're memeing about that situation is what's going on. You can't get this too upset about banter like this. I want to make it clear, you said about the scrim situation, that type of rumor going on with TSM. People are forgetting that Alfari immediately after blaming TSM for this said, well, we do it too.
Okay,
so there's no issue there.
The problem in North America.
Everybody's to
it's a
blame. That's
very
the problem in
core
North America.
and root problem. But this actual series, we've talked about it at lengths. I know. TSM has the head-to-head, the 2-0. One of the games was the bot lane play completely gets out of control, and TSM snowballs that one clearly in their favor. The second one was very back and forth. You needed to speak a Baron steal. So I'm not taking ton into these head-to-heads, but if we're looking at the individual matchups, the one that stands out to me is actually in the bot lane. And listen, you have Alfari and Huni, okay, the two best top laners. You can talk about PoE, Jensen. There's great matchups, but the bot lane is going to be the most important for me because, well, you've got two TSM 80 carries. Tactical obviously used to be with Academy, but it's really who of these young guys could step up and carry the team fights, because that's what 80 carry has been in 2021, is either Kai'Sa dive in the backline or you're playing a Jinx and Isaiah and everybody's diving you, and who can survive these team fights.
And it's incredible because their supports beside them are going to provide such a high level of gameplay and quality, but also, they know what what these type of play styles they want to do. Core JJ and Sword Art want to get out of lane. They want to help out mid lane. They want to be roaming around the map. They want to be making those plays. But then, as you said, you got to be thinking about those two ADCs left down there in the bottom lane, what they're going to be doing 1v1, how they're performing. And
they have the most to prove. You look at the rest of these rosters, like pretty much everyone is proven at some point. I know Tactical had the great summer split, but he's not looked good in spring. So both AD carries have the most to prove to people in this series.
Yeah, and you said that, of course, really the way it played out and the way things look heading towards this series, you can't be looking too much or putting too much value on the regular season record against Team Liquid for TSM. But at the same time, it's important to remember how we got to those situations. And in that bottom lane, talking about Tactical for Team Liquid, his play was not up to the level. It was not acceptable in at least one of the matches against TSM, let alone, iffy in the other one as well. And so when you're focusing on that and you're looking at how the rest of the map is going to play out, having Tactical not be an edge, or at least on par with what TSM is able to output damage-wise and potential-wise from their bot lane, is going to be a massive error and hole to fill for a squad like Team Liquid. And something like, the little advantages that I think you can absolutely bank on Alfari getting over, like someone like Huni in almost every single game in this series, it might not be enough to cover up the gap that someone like Tactical, if he's making the same mistakes as he has been in the spring split.
And Team Liquid will also need Jensen to step up against Power of Evil. You can say topside's however big an advantage for Team Liquid, but yeah, TSM has advantages of their own, and it is going to come down to how well Tactical is playing. I think Team Liquid's going to win this. It's going to be a close series. I don't think it's a stomp either way. We're going 4 or 5 games. Remember, there's still the full loser bracket. TSM gets buffed if they go to loser bracket, so.
See, I know that TSM is gonna get that buff, but it's not. That's not the way it's gonna work out, my man. I got TSM in the full 5. We're going silver scrapes to start off the LCS playoffs. I got the 5 games for TSM. It's gonna be the PoE difference. He's gonna look back. It's game 5. I'm up against Jensen. How do I do this? Coach Bjergsen, come tell me how to take down Jensen in a game 5. No problem. He's gonna write it all down.
Control his mind and make sure he doesn't echo ult.
There we go.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun matchup, and what a way to start the playoffs. Also got C9, 100 Thieves. This is not as close a series on paper, and it shouldn't be on the Rift. And if you're talking about key matchups, there's plenty you can look at. You can say Fudge has got to step up, hold his own against Someday. Closer needs to get back to his previous form to even be close to competing with Blabber, Sven, and FBI, 2 of the best 80 carries in the league. But I'm looking at the mid lane, and that's because it doesn't matter if it's Ryoma. It doesn't matter if it's DeMonte. It doesn't matter if both of them are playing in this series. Perks came to NA to dominate. His words, this is a matchup in a best of series. I'll give you a bit of slack, some leeway in the regular season. Come playoffs and best of, he needs to annihilate this series.
Yeah, this is no more for fun, just locking in Yone. This is absolutely, let's buckle up, get down to business time. Why we spent, $5 million getting your boy Perks over to Cloud9. Absolutely. We've talked about the level of difference that he can provide compared to every other mid laner in the league. And especially when you get towards playoffs, you need to maximize these differences, these advantages that you have over your opponent. And in the case of 100 Thieves and the instability that we've seen around them and their mid lane, and just in general, the idea of what you have with this roster, and then swapping out someone like Demonte and what he means to the team and everything else, performance aside, absolutely an area for concern for the 100 Thieves in this matchup, and one where if it goes even just, average for someone like Perks, that is going to be a major advantage and a major issue for 100 Thieves to try and remedy in the series.
And you can talk about matchups across the map all you want. If there's a massive gap in the mid jungle duo, the side lanes are irrelevant at that point. In this kind of meta, if you have a huge advantage there, the game's over. Like that can snowball in itself.
Yeah, and this is a situation where I really don't care about the name, obviously, of who's in that mid lane against Perks. The performance has to be there. That's the thing that you need to rely upon. It doesn't matter about play style, champion picks, all these sort of things aren't going to matter if you can't get through the laning phase against Perks. And not only making sure you're getting through the laning phase against Perks, that's even discounting and not counting on Blabber making an appearance in your lane at some point, which we know that's a damn well guarantee.
He's going to
be there. He's going to be there before 10 minutes. I absolutely guarantee you. So you're not getting through the laning phase without an appearance from Blabber as well. As I said, Demonte, Ryoma, Papa Smithy, I don't care who is suiting up for the 100 Thieves
all
in the
three.
mid lane.
Tandem mode.
You can put them on the shoulders of each other. It doesn't matter. Someone needs to be able to step up in their performance and be able to, at the very least, go even or slightly behind someone like Perks. Because at the very end of the day, expecting to win that matchup is simply unrealistic to me, given what it is on the side of Cloud9.
And guys like Sven, Vulcan, and Blabber, I know they've kind of slumped into playoffs, looking eerily similar to how Summer played out last split. They had been so dominant for a split and a half, kind of slumped into playoffs, and you were waiting for them to turn it on in playoffs last summer. And yeah, they got far. They made a somewhat deep run, but they never got to that same Cloud9 level. If I'm those three guys, you've got to be locked in right away. 100 Thieves have not looked great the second half of the split, so you gotta get those nervous bugs out right away.
Yeah, and I think you're right in identifying those three on Cloud9 as the ones that, especially from last year, should feel some type of pressure to step up their performance in these playoff situation scenarios. Specifically in that bottom lane, knowing what you're going to go up against with the 100 Thieves. We just talked about it with our all-pro list. The consistency that someone like FBI was able to bring to the laning phase and everything else for 100 Thieves, absolutely going to be something that you're going to have to deal with and be at the top of your game to go up against. And then still, I like that you mentioned Vulcan, because that is someone that I think a lot of people haven't realized towards the last half of the split. I know after the whole Reggie and McDonald's incident, everyone wants to be on his side. But the last half of the split, his performance absolutely did slide down in relation to the rest of the supports that we have in North America. And someone like Huhi absolutely can be the aggressive enough and make enough of these engages that can punish you if you're not prepared, if you're not ready to have a response of your own. And that's where I put the pressure specifically out of those three on someone like Vulcan in this bot lane matchup to perform and excel.
Ezreal Yuumi sighting in the bot lane for Cloud9?
Oh, please, no, not again.
Been a while since we seen a Yuumi out there. I think this is a 3-0 for Cloud9. Maybe I'm not putting enough respect on 100 Thieves, but I think this is the time that Cloud9 ups their level when playoffs start, and it's a 3-0.
I want to say it's not going to be 3-0. I'm feeling the 3-0. I'm just going to go. It's 3-1. 3-1. We're going to get a someday. Some daddy explosion is going to happen at some point. You can only contain them.
Got to give the fans
so long
a reason
against someone like Fudge
to hate on Fudge. Got to give them a reason to hate on Fudge. One game, yeah, that should do it.
Yeah, that'll be it. But absolutely, I think it's just too overwhelming on the side of Cloud9, especially given the form and struggles a team like 100 Thieves is going through right now.
Yeah, and both teams may be slumping, but we'll see how they turn it around for playoffs. Either way, going to be a fun weekend to kick playoffs off in the LCS. Still got LPL and LCK this weekend as well. It's just EU taking the weekend off. But that's it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. Thank you for hanging, and we will catch you guys and gals on the Flippity Flip.